There is a force far more dangerous than any enemy outside, far more destructive than betrayal, failure, or misfortune. It is the voice inside, the relentless whisper that tells us we are weak, that we are unlucky, that we are less than we should be. Negative thinking is the silent predator of the soul, and if left unchecked, it devours not just our peace, but our destiny. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And yet, most of us surrender to the mind's chaos, allowing fear, doubt, and resentment to dictate our days. The law of Stoicism is simple, but brutal. Whatever you allow to occupy your mind, you empower. This is the law that kills negative thinking. Not with denial, not with fleeting optimism, not with distraction, but with ruthless discipline. We must see every destructive thought as a trespasser, every irrational fear as an intruder in the fortress of our mind. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." We cannot control the world, but we can control the judgment we allow within our own minds. Imagine a garden. Every seed you plant grows. If you scatter weeds, they will overtake your crops. If you cultivate only what serves you, the harvest will be abundant. The same applies to the mind. Negative thoughts are weeds. They choke the potential for clarity, courage, and purpose. The Stoic law demands that we uproot them immediately before they take root. We observe them, confront them, and replace them with truth. That adversity is temporary. That emotion is a tool, not a master. That our value is measured by our actions, not by the world's chaos. But this law is not gentle. It is uncompromising. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." To apply this law, we must stare into the mirror of our mind with brutal honesty. We must recognize when fear distorts judgment, when resentment clouds clarity, when despair attempts to hijack our reason. And then we must act. Silence the intruder, refuse its influence, and reclaim dominion over our thoughts.
We who choose discipline understand that the mind cannot be left to wander unchecked. Negative thinking is seductive. It promises comfort, justification, and the illusion of understanding, but it is a trap. Every time we indulge it, we feed weakness. Every time we rationalize it, we delay growth. The Stoic law is absolute. Thoughts are commands, and only the disciplined obey with discernment. Here is where the law becomes truly brutal. It does not tolerate excuses. It does not reward avoidance. Marcus Aurelius again reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Negative thoughts are not obstacles, they are signals. They are the call to exercise fortitude, to practice self-control, to strengthen the mind until it becomes unbreakable. To face them is to transform fear into courage, despair into clarity, chaos into calm. We have all felt it, the creeping doubt, the gnawing anxiety, the whisper of futility. The world outside may conspire, but it is the mind that either enslaves or liberates. This Stoic law teaches us that liberation begins within. By refusing to harbor negativity, we step into a realm few ever reach, the calm eye in the storm, the presence untouched by chaos, the authority over ourselves that no outside force can claim. Let this be a warning and a promise. The moment you surrender to destructive thoughts, you lose more than peace. You lose direction, courage, and the subtle magnetism that comes from self-mastery. But the moment you wield this law with ruthless discipline, negative thinking dies. You become the master of your inner world. You command your mind, and in that command lies power, presence, and an allure far deeper than beauty, far more magnetic than charm. The Stoics did not promise an easy mind. They promised a free mind, and in freedom, lies strength. 2. Kill negativity by controlling the story you tell yourself. Negative thinking is rarely born from reality. It is born from the stories we tell ourselves. We replay imagined failures, exaggerate fears, and anticipate betrayals that may never come. The mind becomes a prison when we allow these narratives to dominate. Stoicism teaches us that we are not victims of circumstance. We are interpreters. The law is brutal in its simplicity. You cannot control what happens, but you can control the story you tell yourself about it. Marcus Aurelius observed, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Negative thinking thrives because we mistake opinion for reality. When someone insults us, we do not experience a fact, we experience a story we choose to believe. When plans fail, the misfortune is not the obstacle, it is the narrative of defeat we attach to it. This is where negativity gains power, in the fertile soil of our interpretations. The Stoic path is merciless. It demands we scrutinize every thought, every assumption, every judgment. Epictetus taught, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." To kill negative thinking, we must become vigilant judges of our own mind. When a thought arises, we ask, is this true? Does this serve me? Does this strengthen me, or does it chain me to fear, anger, or resentment? If it fails the test, it dies. There is no negotiation. There is no compromise. We often cling to negativity because it feels familiar. Fear, doubt, and worry are old companions. They whisper of control. They pretend to warn us, but in truth, they weaken us. The Stoics call this living under illusion. To break the habit, we must rewrite the story in real time. When fear speaks, we respond with reason. When anger flares, we respond with composure. When doubt creeps, we respond with discipline. In doing so, the mind learns that negativity has no authority. Only truth has weight.
Seneca warned, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This is not a suggestion, it is a command. Every time we indulge a negative narrative, we extend our own suffering unnecessarily. By taking control of our inner story, we strip negativity of its power. We do not ignore problems, but we refuse to embellish them with fear or despair. We face life as it is, not as our imagination pretends it to be. The beauty of this law lies in its universality. It applies to every circumstance, every setback, every insult. No one can harm the mind that refuses to believe in its own weakness. No challenge can destabilize the soul that chooses reason over reaction. And no negative thought can survive the scrutiny of disciplined self-examination. This is the cruel elegance of Stoic discipline. It does not coddle the mind, it trains it like a weapon. We cultivate a mind that observes without judgment, assesses without panic, and acts without the interference of destructive narratives. In this, negativity dies. It finds no audience, no stage, no foothold. And in its absence, clarity, courage, and presence emerge, qualities that are far more attractive and powerful than any fleeting pleasure or shallow reassurance. We are not born with control over our thoughts. We are forged in the practice of mastering them. The law is relentless. Allow destructive narratives, and you will be enslaved. Kill them ruthlessly, and you become free. The mind becomes your ally, your weapon, your sanctuary. In that mastery, negative thinking cannot survive, and you rise untouchable, calm, resilient, and magnetic in ways that mere appearances could never achieve. 3. Brutal truth. Negative thinking thrives on your attachment to outcomes. There is a force within us more dangerous than any external enemy. It is not poverty, betrayal, or misfortune. It is the mind enslaved by expectation. Negative thinking grows in the fertile soil of attachment. We despair because life is not unfolding as we imagined. We rage because the world refuses to obey our desires. We spiral into worry because the future is uncertain. The Stoic law is merciless. Detach from outcomes or be devoured by your own thoughts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same reason which today guides you." Consider this. Every negative thought about what might happen tomorrow, every fear about what could go wrong, is not a reflection of reality. It is a reflection of attachment. It is a craving disguised as concern. It is the mind enslaved by what is not yet, and often will never be. The law is clear. You cannot control events. You cannot dictate how others act, nor can you force the world to conform to your wishes. Epictetus, a man who lived as a slave and yet became a master of his own mind, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The Stoics understood that the mind's prison is built not by circumstance, but by our insistence on certain outcomes. Negative thinking is simply the echo of unmet expectations. We are trained from birth to chase results, to measure our value in achievement, recognition, or approval. And yet, the Stoics reveal a more terrifying truth. Every desire for certainty is an invitation to suffering. The mind cannot be free when it clings to what has not yet arrived. It is trapped, oscillating between hope and fear, obsession and despair. To kill negative thinking, we must sever the attachment at its root. We must practice the ruthless discipline of acceptance. Seneca warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Negative thinking thrives on this craving. It whispers, "You deserve better. You will fail. You are powerless." And if left unchecked, it grows louder, stronger, unrelenting. But the moment we detach from outcomes, the whisper becomes powerless. We see that our worth does not depend on what happens outside, and our peace cannot be stolen by the unpredictable world. This law is not easy. It demands vigilance. Every time we anticipate disaster, every time we stew over someone else's actions, every time we obsess over results, we are feeding negativity. The disciplined mind recognizes these thoughts immediately. It pauses, observes, and responds with reason. I cannot control that. My peace is mine to guard. By refusing to anchor ourselves to outcomes, we starve negative thinking of its sustenance. The power of this law is absolute. Detachment does not mean apathy. It does not mean submission. It means mastery. When we act without attachment, we act with clarity, strength, and calm. Negative thinking has no grip. Every worry, every fear, every imagined betrayal collapses against the immovable wall of reason. The mind becomes a fortress, impenetrable, disciplined, magnetic. In the end, negative thinking cannot survive where discipline reigns. It dies the moment we accept what is, release what is not ours to command, and anchor ourselves in virtue, action, and reason. The Stoic law is brutal because it strips us bare of illusion, leaving only what is essential: our mind, our judgment, and our unbreakable spirit. Detach from outcomes. Kill the obsession with what may or may not happen. And in that detachment, rise untouchable, calm, resilient, and profoundly magnetic, far beyond the reach of fleeting emotions or superficial fears.
4. Brutal discipline. Conquer negative thinking by controlling your attention. Negative thinking is a parasite. It does not arise from truth. It arises from where we place our attention. What we feed grows. What we focus on shapes our mind, our mood, and ultimately our destiny. The Stoic law is uncompromising. You will focus only on what is within your control and nothing else. Everything else is poison. We are drawn to distraction, gossip, comparison, and imagined slights. Each thought we dwell on gives it power, allowing it to fester and expand. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Power is not in forcing the world to bend. It is in choosing where your mind dwells. The moment we hand over our attention to negative speculation, fear, or resentment, we hand over our strength. Epictetus, who endured slavery and suffering, yet remained unshakable, taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." The first step is attention. Observe your mind. Watch where it wanders. Negative thinking creeps in silently. A worry about the future, a critique of yourself, a judgment of another. Each thought is a spark. Left unchecked, it becomes a wildfire. Stoic discipline demands that we intercept it immediately, recognize it, examine it, and redirect it. We must understand that attention is a choice, not a reaction. When a thought arises, "I am not enough, this will fail, life is unfair," we have the authority to decide whether it remains or dies. Seneca reminds us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Negative thinking is a creation of imagination. If we allow it to dominate our attention, we live in a fabricated nightmare, while reality remains untouched.
This law is brutal because it requires constant vigilance. The mind wants to wander. It wants to replay the past and anticipate calamity. It wants to dwell on envy and resentment. But the Stoic refuses to indulge. Every moment of focused attention on what is virtuous, productive, or true is a victory. Every moment spent feeding fear, doubt, or complaint is a betrayal of self-mastery. The disciplined mind does not indulge parasites, it starves them. Think of attention as the gatekeeper of the soul. We cannot control the world, the opinions of others, or the chaos of circumstance, but we can control where our mind resides. By focusing only on what serves clarity, strength, and purpose, we eliminate the soil in which negative thoughts grow. It is not a temporary hack, it is a lifelong practice. Marcus Aurelius' entire life was a testament to this law. Surrounded by war, betrayal, and plague, he remained focused on virtue, reason, and duty. His mind became a fortress. His thoughts could not be corrupted by fear or despair. The result of this discipline is profound. As we control our attention, negative thinking diminishes. We become unshakable. We act with clarity. We speak with authority. We move through life with a calm presence that others sense instinctively. It is not charm. It is not appearance. It is the magnetism of a mind that is free from distraction, free from fear, free from its own destructive narratives. Remember, the law is absolute. You will control your attention, or negative thinking will control you. There is no middle ground. Every thought allowed to linger beyond reason is a wound self-inflicted. Every moment spent dwelling on the uncontrollable is a surrender. Conquer your attention and you conquer the mind. Starve the parasites, nourish virtue, and rise untouchable, serene, and irresistibly strong.
Negative thoughts are not stronger than you. They only appear so because you have allowed them space in your mind. Today, you've learned the law that kills them: mastery over your thoughts, your attention, and your reactions. Remember this: the world cannot shake the one who has conquered their own mind. Chaos may rage, life may strike, but we stand unbroken, calm, disciplined, and magnetic. If you want to continue building this unshakable strength, subscribe and join us. Walk the path where thought becomes power, discipline becomes freedom, and negativity dies before it ever touches you.